We're here for another episode of Clean Tech Talk. I'm Zach Shahan, CEO of CleanTechnica, and joining us today is Richard Halsall, CEO and founder of Exhale Fans. Really interesting company that's sort of off the beaten track from what we normally talk about and cover, but definitely interesting and useful clean tech. So we'll get into that in a moment, but just I'd like to start off by asking Richard to tell us a bit more about his background, his career, and what led him to founding not necessarily what led you to founding Excel Fans, but actually, what you did before, and then we'll get into, what led you into founding Excel Fans.
Um, I started off as an Army aviator, flying attack helicopters during the Vietnam era. From there, and I've always been interested in science. I've always been interested in mathematics, science, everything that's advancing our being on this planet technologically. From there, but I always had an undying love for aviation, and I flew for the airlines for the balance of my professional career, and a major U.S. airline. And doing that, I spent about half my life in hotel rooms. Um, not ever being able to be comfortable. Either you froze in one corner of it or you baked in the other corner of it. So, based on that, I recognized clearly that we live in three-dimensional spaces, and the solution set given for heating and cooling was two-dimensional. So that led into a pursuit of finding a way to circulate HVAC air, um, not just for comfort, but also for reduction in cost, energy efficiency, all those things that are important to the future of the planet. Uh, and that's a thumbnail sketch of what brought me through to this point.
When you started talking about how you spend a lot of time, flying, I thought you were going to say that, that led to a lot of, just time pondering, thinking about things. And I imagine sitting up there flying over the world, you have a lot of time to think. And it's not like the passengers on the plane who can, open up a movie to watch or something. It's a lot of time to sit there and think. I mean, it didn't really hit me, but someone who drives all day, it's a similar kind of thing. You have a lot of time to sit, but that's what we can relate to. Of course, most of us have never flown anything, but we can relate to, like, if we were sitting in a car for that long driving, that would be a lot of time to think. So was this? I'm just pure curiosity. Was this one of many ideas that sort of came into you while you were like flying over the world, or and did you sort of really nail it down while flying, or I mean, similarly, just while being in hotel rooms, like you said? I mean, that makes a lot of sense too.
Needless to say, you're right. You do have, you know, um, flying from the U.S. to Asia. You have 15 hours en route, and you are going to start thinking about your life's experiences, how to make things better. At least that's the mindset that I've carried along for quite a long time. And
I don't know how you
uh,
wouldn't fall asleep I'm like, like those are some brutal trips
it
sometimes.
And it is nowadays with the crew complements that you have on long legs like that. You have a relief pilot, like on the 747. You have a crew rest area and a relief pilot, so you are able to take a break. from it. When I first started, it was a 3-man crew, and you're right, you had no, there was no break, and
That's cruel.
it was cruel. Yeah.
That's crazy. I mean, honestly, props to you for that. That's anyone who's done even an 8-hour flight. But if you've done like one of those, 15-hour flight, a very long flight. Oh my gosh, that's pretty crazy. But yeah, I'm taking us way off course. But you obviously it piques my interest there, just thinking about that kind of stuff. But yeah, it's really interesting what you say because as soon as you start talking about, the comfort of a hotel room and it being too cold and too hot, and it's like, yeah, gosh, that's so true. This is like the case, right? They're not. I mean, I'm sure that they're better than they used to be, but there's definitely like issues with that kind of climate control in these kind of places, and more broadly as well. But for sure.
and 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 basically the driving force behind this particular technology, if it's all right to discuss it in depth, uh, the driving force was to find a way to distribute that air evenly and stabilize the temperature throughout the space. That's floor to ceiling and wall to wall. And those are the limitations of just having two dimensions, force and volume, to deliver heat or to deliver cooling air. Um, just force ourselves to live in an environment where comfort, you know, may not always be found. If you're, let's say you're in a office boardroom and you're in front of the vent, you're freezing, and the guy at the end of the table is not comfortable. So um, comfort may be part of it, but there's a distinct energy savings, as Purdue University coupled with us and demonstrated that yes, if you circulate the air entirely, you are going to get an energy savings out of it. Whatever's set on the thermostat will be satisfied a whole lot quicker. It's just the physics of the situation. Cold air's on the floor, hot air's on the ceiling. So if you make that vertical column uniform, uh, you're going to save a lot of energy.
So can you tell us? So can you tell us a bit more about the technology then, and what it's doing, how it's working to do all this?
Absolutely. It's predicated on Nikola Tesla's engine that was made out of discs, and he put high pressure steam to it to spin it. Uh, Turning it into a fan, what reason we were successful with it is we opened the input aperture of it to be quite wide. So the intake, and this comes from being around high bypass turbofan engines. You have this big wide area to introduce air into, and you don't have to run it at 30,000 RPM to get it to do anything. So, bringing it into a useful RPM and having a series of spinning discs around a central axis, you get a laminar flow of air from the centrifugal force of just displacing the air that is between the discs. Uh, it does something remarkably well. Also, it lifts the air from the floor up into the fan and then distributes it 360 degrees in the room. So stabilizing the temperature providing smooth, continuous airflow, and without having blades uh, that are just directing air in a vertical column, we were successful in our original, I guess, mission to accomplish energy savings and comfort uh, together. Uh, and that kind of is the basis of the fan. The input is an inverted vortex. So just think of a cyclone or a tornado upside down. Though the force isn't of that nature, but the movement of the air is can be best described that way.
So yeah, sorry. I have a couple questions, but one, I'm going to jump to the name. How did you how did you come up with the name for the Exhale fans? It's because it's very using personology here actually. So it's like, you know, it's a good retortive uh tool to rhetorical tool to this, you know, very effective in literature, but it helps to definitely to get attention and it's an interesting kind of naming choice.
Well, that wasn't that came about through ad agency. It wasn't our invention.
Well, good
And,
job hiring someone to do it.
right, but it fit well to what we were trying to develop, because in essence, the only reason it's called the ceiling fan is it hangs from a ceiling, and that's the only comparison I can make. It does nothing or behaves nothing like what we traditionally call a ceiling fan.
I'm
So,
I'm glad. Yeah, I'm glad I asked that question first because my other question, this leads into my other question, which is, you know, I feel like there would probably be some natural prejudice against just using a fan to cool. Like people, they know what a fan does. It blows air on you. An air conditioner, you know, creates more cool air. And, you know, there are so many fans that must never get turned on all year long because people just don't use the fan. They use the air conditioner, they turn the air up or down, they don't use the fan. And also, I mean, I think a lot of people don't want the air blowing on them, they want to be cooled off, but they don't want the air like blowing in their face and their eyes, whatever. So it's an interesting design. It's very interesting how it looks and, you know, and everything, but I assume it must get a lot more interest from users who are like, "Oh, let's see what this does." It looks like a new technology. It's got a very interesting design. It's not going to fall into the prejudice of a traditional fan, probably. Be like, "Oh, let's see how this works." And then the fact that it's not, presumably, as I understand it, not just blowing air at you, but circulating air better. Um, it ends up working well. So I assume it's an it's just an interesting. Have you done any like market research on that or noticed that it's that you sort of overcome kind of the mm, kind of maybe a knee jerk reaction like, oh, it's just a fan, or oh, I don't want a fan, I want air conditioning or something like that, you know?
well, Zach, you caught on to the essence of what we struggle, literally struggle to educate the consumer on. And that is that no, we don't just blow air on you. We circulate, and the what you feel is just a gentle air movement throughout the entire area that the fan covers. So you're right. There is a prejudice against air blowing on you for most people, because if it exceeds 2 meters per second over a few minutes, your body tells you that's a draft and you don't like it. So what most of our customers say to us is that it's fresh. I walk into that room that it's operating, and it just feels fresh and comfortable. You know,
Yeah.
so that's the resultant aspect of the operation of the fan. Most people, because we only draw 50 watts, most people leave it 24/7 and just let it run. It's a BLDC motor, so it doesn't draw a lot of current to produce the amount of comfort that it gives. Um, you know, in the world today, and unfortunately, because the infrastructure bill has been gutted a little bit, energy costs are going up. In the U.S., we spend about 60% of what we pay to the power company just to keep ourselves warm. What we're hearing in the field, and is you're going to get 22 to 28% reduction in what you're spending in heating and air through use of the fan. Purdue made a very narrow study for us, and uh, for thermodynamic engineering, Purdue is the premier university in the United States for that. But what they said is, can I maintain the ASHRAE standard of 72 degrees and run the fan and bump the thermostat up 4 degrees Fahrenheit? And the answer was yes. And so you can see, if I'm not making that demand, that 72-degree demand on my air conditioning system, then I'm not running it as much.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what um, the
What it
efficacy of what we we produced and what we know works. And we had, so getting Purdue to latch on to it with us was instrumental in
Yeah.
advancing.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I'm not familiar. What is this, the 72-degree ASHRAE standard? What does that stand for? What does that mean? I mean,
ASHRAE, the American Society for Heating, Refrigeration, and Air Conditioning Engineers, create all the standards for buildings, HVAC, effectiveness, human comfort, and they're the ones who put the maximum human comfort at 72 degrees Fahrenheit.
okay, very interesting. That's what I assumed it meant, but
Yes,
it's
sir.
funny because I live in Florida here, palm trees, hence palm trees behind me, and um, this is what we keep the the AC on here. But a lot of people in Florida keep it lower. They have much lower. They prefer it colder, and which has always been interesting to me. I grew up here. I haven't, I've lived elsewhere, North Carolina, Virginia, Poland, Netherlands, but we're living here again, and my my wife tends to like it warmer and I tend to like it colder. So, but if I drop it to 71, I get in big trouble for making it way too cold. And if it gets up to 73, I'm like, I can't handle it. It's too hot. So we settle on 72. So it's very funny. I guess that's a good thing. I guess we're in line with ASHRAE.
Right.
But
Fair.
but going back to the yeah, how this system works. I just was immediately thinking, like, if you're outside, by the pool or whatever, outside, and you have a cool light breeze, like underneath, like it's like the perfect day. You're like, oh, this is perfect. That's when people feel best. I feel like with a little bit of a light breeze. But as you noted, I don't know what the metric was, but if it starts getting windy and the wind is blowing in too much, it immediately turns into like, oh, this is really not a nice day. So it's funny. I assume what I understand, what it sounds like, your fans, XL fans, really create that kind of like light undercurrent of sorry for the wrong terminology probably, but that kind of undercurrent of lightly blowing air that probably makes you feel like perfect, like, oh, this is perfect. And yeah, I can totally see how the challenge would probably be getting consumers to not be thinking, oh, this is just a fan, another fan that's going to blow on you. That this is a whole different like territory, whole different device. When you look at it, I think you can see this is a different thing. But yeah, maybe yeah, there's still the challenge of it being called called a fan. I mean, even though it is, but
And Jack, you know, you, you're very astute in burrowing down to exactly what this fan does. It does produce that gentle breeze that you, when you're out by the pool, that makes it a great day. And we build it to last a long time. So it's not an inexpensive device, but we don't manufacture it to be replaced in a couple of years. We build it to operate 24/7. We believe you can get 15 years of use out of it. So that isn't cheap to do, but it makes me sleep better at night.
no, I can tell. I mean, I'm glad you started with your story of how it came about because I keep coming back to that in my head because it's like you can tell that you really designed the system as a user to make like the best possible system for human comfort and efficiency. I don't know how much one or the other drove, but I mean, as soon as you get into the space, I think you can see that, yeah, that an optimized climate system is going to save a lot of money. Like because that's sort of the problem is that our climate control systems are so poorly optimized, or so like so lopsided, have such uh, strengths and weaknesses that you end up with quite inefficient systems. But it is like I just keep thinking in my head. So like, oh, he really designed this to be like the perfect consumer product. And like you said, like that's one thing. If you had a fan running constantly, like a normal fan that you buy, at Lowe's or whatever, it would not last too long. It would it would wear out. So it's really interesting that you actually thought about that and made it to, yeah, I don't know. Do you want to talk a little bit about how you made what process you went through to ensure that it's long lasting?
That
That's gotta be a lot of
took
work.
about
That's hard.
10 years to get it perfect, to get it to where this Gen 5, this fifth generation. So averaging every 2 years, we made advancements, we improved, we invested in order to come about to where we are today. Let me circle back to one other element of the physical nature of what normally happens, and then we'll dive in a little deeper on what you just brought to bear. The colder air is always going to be on the floor because it's denser, it's heavier. It's also drier. So when we lift it up and circulate it throughout in a three-dimensional way, by doing that, we are lifting up that drier air. And what we've seen is that too adds to comfort, but it also removes humidity from areas that, you know, may normally get damp. So in so the restriction to growth of mold or mildew is also a byproduct of this. And in Florida, it's hot, it's humid, and it's hard to get away from. And part of air
It's ne
conditioning,
it's nearly impossible, and anything you can do to avoid it is worth a fortune. Worth a fortune.
right? right. So we're lifting that colder, denser air, and what we've seen is that eight, about the 6 foot level, we've reduced humidity of almost 50% from what it ambient humidity was. Now, getting back to making sure that people who purchase this product will be able to use it for a long period of time. Um, our motor and electronics have a long warranty period to it, more so than others. Um, and the way we build it is it's a permanent magnet motor. It's all copper winding. So there's the reason most fans fail is it's aluminum core with copper clad wiring in it that heats up too much. Okay, so if it's if it's all copper, you're not going to be generating a lot of heat, electrical heat, just to spin the fan, to do the work of spinning the fan. The bearings in this latest generation, the bearings we've doubled in size. We use heavier metals on it, so that it's as at its highest speed, it's as quiet as a library. So you're not distracted, by either flicker that comes with a bladed fan and or noise. So our goal was to design something that people would turn on, leave on, and be comfortable with. So that
Yeah.
goes back to your first statement, Zach.
Yeah, that's really interesting stuff. And for anyone just listening, and maybe we'll overlay this on the video for YouTube as if you look at the fans, the pictures of the fans, yeah, they look like some kind of fancy LED or some kind of luxury um, light or system. They don't look anything like a traditional fan, obviously, and they look like something, yeah, you would find in a premium uh, space, office, hotel building. Um, so I think that again, that would help to overcome any natural barriers people have to using it, but like you said, it's really about the operation and the comfort level, and that's where it really excels. But what what is your and I can see that it's been 16 years. I think the company's been operating.
Yes.
What's your who are your customers right now? Who and has that changed over time, or have you?
Well, the, in the United States, two things. I wanted to make sure we hung on to the company, that the family maintained the majority. So we didn't go to uh, venture capital route or any of that route. In the States, we invested everything into perfecting the product. The
I, j- I just have
European,
I just have to go back to you being in air, flying an airplane, and thinking all this through, hours and hours of flying. Because I mean, you've really thought through every part of it. It seems like I don't know how much was ahead of time, but it's clear, like from my perspective, that you made very smart decisions that um, avoid some of the pitfalls or issues that other companies run into. But
and Zach, you're right, because if you hand it over to somebody whose only interest is in the bottom line, or making money or whatever, uh,
making money quickly,
quickly,
quick money, get in and get out. And if it doesn't happen quickly, just dump it. It's done. Right.
right, right, and I knew the product would suffer. uh, immensely suffer because of that. So the slow and steady pace, even though exasperating from a human standpoint, saying why don't people get it? But just the same, in Europe, through our European distributor, to get back to who uses it, schools, the entire school system of Lyon, France, uses the fan. NATO, their new uh, space center, uh, uses our fans. Uh, let's see, hotels in Europe use it. Um, um, Retirement homes keeps people comfortable without blowing them out of existence. So
Well, it's funny because like my wife is Polish, and I lived in Poland for over 11 for 11 years. Lived in Europe for over 11 years, and yeah, again, I'm a bit of a. I guess I was not thinking because I was not even thinking about Europe, but having lived there, especially with increasing heat, oh my gosh, it's a perfect market because you have so many places that are not air conditioned because historically you just really didn't need it, or it was too expensive. But I mean, you didn't really need it. It was really, I will tell you, in summer of 2014, we got hit with the biggest heat wave the country's ever had in Poland, and just absurd. And it got to levels of real heat, 90s, 36 degrees Celsius,
right, right,
and 35, 36. And something I realized or learned was that Polish people are prepared for surviving in cold temperatures. And you have very cold, you have cool, and you might get a bit of warm in the summer, right? And so anything that you do to survive cold worked throughout the year.
right.
Even if it wasn't like the best idea in the summer, it was like it still was fine. They were not prepared for heat, and
No,
they didn't know how to handle heat. And it was like all these habits, traditions, things that were just like how you do things to survive, like literally to survive. They would do like the opposite thing you should do in the summertime with this heat. And it was pretty crazy, but that's a bit of a side tangent. But you go when this heat hit, I mean, you couldn't find a fan in any store because everyone went to the store and bought fans.
sure,
They didn't have fans before. They didn't need fans.
sure.
More and more people now are installing air conditioning units, window air conditioning units, which are much better than they used to be when I was a kid. But still, it's just like gradually this is happening, and this is happening all across Europe, not just Poland. It's happening in France, like you said, other places, because it's these traditionally mild or cold to mild climates that now have to adapt and learn how to handle heat. And of course, throwing in a big central air conditioning system or having, big apartment buildings that are air conditioned is not going to happen. Like that's just not, maybe down the road, but right now there need to be other solutions. And of course, Europe has much more focus on climate solutions, energy
Yes,
efficiency, standards for reducing emissions, not increasing them. So you have a kind of perfect situation there in Europe for your product. And I was going to come back to what you said earlier, where it's still astounding to me what you said earlier, that you could basically have the temperature, I think you said 76 to 77, 78 degrees, feeling like 72, the Ashway standard 72. And that's a huge, like if you think about, if I didn't have to run my air at 72, and I ran it at 78 or 76, 77, like that's a huge energy savings, and that's saving a lot of money. So if you're able to make that difference in comfort, I'm sure that people would be quickly sold on the idea of, hey, just put this system in. You don't have to put in an air conditioning unit. You don't have to install a huge AC, with all the capital expense. Put this in, and you have better comfort, better efficiency. And I mean, if the comfort speaks for itself, which it sounds like it does, like that's all that people really want. They want good comfort at the cheapest price. But yeah,
I, absolutely. Yeah, and Jack, again, you hit the nail right on the head. You know, uh, living in a three-dimensional space and using physics to your benefit, right? Because you're getting that cold air off off the floor, and you're circulating it. And so, let's say in Florida, a lot of tile floors, all right, and they stay relatively cool. Uh, so you're that heat transfer, that cool transfer, I should say, in that instance, also adds to the ability of you to kick your thermostat up and maintain that comfort level that you're content with. And I know precisely what you're saying about Europe. We have the airline I flew for had a hub in Germany, and so we would fly inside Europe. And oh, you know, back in the early '90s, uh, granted, in the summer you open the window, and you were fine.
Yeah,
Uh,
even hospitals, schools, they're all, that's what they do. I mean,
right,
everywhere, and even without screens because they don't have the bugs of Florida.
right, right, right. And they had those great windows that you could crack, and they would tilt in and allow cool air to come in, and it was uh, it, so you were comfortable. By '08, '09, by 2010, uh, you knew the change. You felt the change, and they had no air conditioning in the hotels because they never needed it. You know, so they bought fans. The hotel bought fans for you and put them in the rooms. Uh,
Yeah, and
so,
now newer hotels,
but
new
those
build.
are not
Yeah,
comfortable either. That doesn't solve the entire. All it does is evaporate the perspiration off your body, and then you become annoyed after that. So the ability to circulate that air, um, and lift it off the floor rather than have a singular column of
yeah,
air being moved by a bladed ceiling fan, uh, was part and parcel of the thought process to where we are today.
yeah. And
Uh,
I assume you're familiar too. Like, so that one summer hit, and it was crazy. I mean, we were walking around the mall to stay cool, and there were people with their dogs and their water bowl in the shopping cart, just walking around the mall, like to keep their dog cool and hydrated. Like it was intense. But then it was like, year after year, this was happening, and every time a heat wave would hit, the fans would be all sold out at the store. Like it's just every time, like it was just another round. And but the thing is, so aside from just not having to deal with that before, there's also a kind of not a phobia, but they don't like air blowing on you. Again, like the whole survival in the cold, they do not want air blowing on them. There is, avoiding the draft is like I don't know. It's
and
it's
you're
it's really big. It's a
right.
really big thing there. Like they do not want air blowing on them, and so so using a fan, like they'll do it in these extreme situations, but they don't want that air blowing, and it makes sense. I mean, you have an air blowing in your face all day, your eyes, all kinds of issue, it bothers your eyes. You can get a headache, whatever. So it
Exactly.
makes sense. But as a Floridian, I was like, what do you mean? Just get the air, put your face right in front of it, like cool off, like survive the heat. But you can see again like how your solution is like the perfect solution because you're cooling without that problem of air blowing. And it was really interesting the way you put it because I never really the way you put it where I forget what metric you said, but a certain metric is like a draft. And that's the word they always use is a draft. Like they don't want to draft. I'm like, no, but you want to breeze when it's hot as heck. You need a breeze. Like, so it's funny that how the terminology is, but it's just seen as a negative. So it must absolutely people must absolutely love this product in Europe. So I can see why that makes a lot of sense. And there's got to be an enormous market for it. I'll let you come back to that, and then I think think I'm done with those thoughts. But I figure one of the biggest challenges is getting people open to a new idea, a new system, something that's not an air conditioning unit and not a traditional bladed fan, and also just something that costs more upfront, but saves you money long term. It's always a I mean, we've been making this pitch with electric cars and solar panels for over 15 years here on CleanTechnica, and it's a never ending challenge because people don't think long term and they don't plan long term often, and they don't want to do their finances long term. So it's got to be one, those have to be the two hardest challenges for you, right?
And Zach, yes, you're 100% correct. And this is why we took on the tagline of HVAC air delivered everywhere to everyone all at once, because fundamentally that's what we're doing. There's two components that I was talking about, the two dimensions of what HVAC systems are today: force and volume. And Zach, here's one of the key issues I want to get across as well, is the fact that you don't need the blower, which draws about 1,500 watts on the average uh, air conditioning system. You don't need to run it on high. So you can kick it down 50%. You're still delivering cool air into the room, because the air conditioner is only capable of taking return air, dropping it 20 degrees and sending it back out. So you can still take that cool air, but now you have a better way of distributing that cool air. So you don't have to try to blow it with tremendous force just to get it to the other side of the room, because that's the only reason the fan blows as hard as it does, is
And
they're trying to overcome distribution.
I'm immediately thinking of those hotel air conditioning units again, and how much my wife hates them as a Polish woman. Like, absolutely hates how hard they're blowing the air. And I mean, I get it now, but like I said, as a Floridian, I'm like I love it, you know. But
Sure,
but for a European, and actually, if you understand how, like, what you're explaining, that's a horrible system. That's just so.
it is. It is. Um, it goes against what we are as human beings and what our body tells us we like to be comfortable in. And
And they're just so loud. I mean, they're so loud, right?
they're loud, and they're only unidirectional. Remember, they're linear in their delivery. So that is the difficulty of it. Now, for things like schools and hotel rooms, look at what else we're we're adding to the equation. Especially in the school environment, where the viruses, sneezing, coughing, whatever occurs occurs in that area between 4 and 6 feet above the floor.
Yeah. And yeah, no, and just the challenge of having kids keep helping kids to focus when it's already a big enough challenge, right?
Exactly. If they're comfortable, that's a proven fact. ASHRAE has also proven that if you're comfortable, your mind will be sharper. You will pay attention, and you won't be squirming around one way or other, either too cool because you're below the vent, or too warm because you're not in line with the vent. But you're also removing particulates. You're lifting them out of that zone, and you're dissipating the intensity of it. So there's a couple of
I mean, as
benefits.
as a parent of a 9-year-old and 11-year-old, I mean, this is like this is you're speaking this is chocolate to my heart. This is I mean, how many the sicknesses they bring home and the challenges we've had, like if you're cold in school, you got to remember to put the sweater on. Once you
Right,
go outside for recess, you got to remember to take the sweater off. And it's
right.
like the kids don't they don't,
Oh,
especially at a young age, they just don't think that about that stuff. And then like you said, I mean, yeah, great points. But I didn't even know about the viral. I mean, that's a great. I mean, something that we're more aware of now after COVID. But
sure.
that zone that you were talking about, what was that zone?
It's the viral plume is what they call it, where it resides in a normal building. And remember, it's the intensity of the viral plume that infects. So if you can dilute it by a logical means, you also take away the ability for the infection to propagate that way. And Zach, I grew up in New York City. Um, my mother was 100% Italian. The grandmother lived in the house. All those European things you're talking about, button your stomach, do this. No, don't get the draft. My grandmother would be just constant, in, in it. Because when you're a kid and it's a snow day, I mean, you're out there hustling, you're opening your jacket up, and they're screaming, close, zip it up. You know,
I I
but
can picture it. Believe me, I can relate. I'm glad that you could relate. I thought you could relate because you spent a lot of time in Europe. But yeah, it's the yeah.
it's the mindset, the absolute mindset of the Europeans. And but in a school environment, in a hotel, in an office, and you're right, kids will transmit uh, because they live in that viral plume and they're breathing. Just breathing will transmit airborne viruses. And if you have a way of removing you won't remove the virus, but you'll diminish the intensity of a cough. You'll diminish the intensity of a sneeze by lifting it up and dissipating it, because infection is related directly to intensity or density, I should say, but as a better way of describing it, density of the viral plume.
Yeah,
Uh,
I learned that during COVID, but before that, I had no idea. Like, I'm sure a lot of people have learned about this, but again, it wouldn't have clicked in my head to think about that with your system until you bring it up. I mean, you 100%, you sold me 10 times over on this. Would have to do our best to help you sell it. I mean, Europe is the perfect market, but I mean, I just think about Florida as well. Like, I mean, obviously we struggle in Florida to have comfortable climates, and the transition from hot to cold and
yeah,
the challenge of keeping cool, keeping mold and mildew out is a serious, huge, who knows how many $1 billion challenge in Florida. So the more you're able to do that with an efficient system, I mean, this system should be in almost every building probably if I think about it. But I also think about the barriers to selling it that must exist because people are just going to go to Home Depot and get a cheap fan, or are used to just resorting to AC, turning the AC down or whatever. And I mean, the potential in Florida alone for your system is mind-boggling. But I also just wonder how challenging it is to break through and to get in. Basically, it's a new technology. I mean, it's not a fan, it's not an AC unit, and to get that to break through is it's got to be a fun challenge. Fun challenge, we'll say.
it is. It is, and it isn't all about. For me, look, I'm 75 years old. I've been through combat. I've done what I've enjoyed to do with my life. I'm not looking for a Lamborghini or a Ferrari or oh, look at the house that I have. I mean, that does absolutely nothing for me. I'm not in love with that, but I am in love with the concept of um, helping the planet. I have grandchildren. You know, I want to see them have a place to play in. I like, you know, I just like to see us, because my generation seems to be the one that uh, is causing a lot of difficulties. I'd like to see some of us from my generation contributing, and I know there are. You know, there are good scientists and physicists and engineers that are making great contributions. But this is low hanging fruit. This is a product that can be implemented without modifying anything, with, without redoing a multi-million dollar HVAC system that has benefit not just to put money in your pocket, but benefit to keep you comfortable, to improve the indoor air quality, you know, within a hotel room, within a school. You know, you figure um, as, you know, things get tighter and competition among hotels. I remember when I was in the 70s, HBO was the draw. You know, we got
Yes.
HBO, you know,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
come die, spend your money in our hotel, you know. Well, you know, we can give you a good night's sleep, comfortable, without you, you know, fighting the noise of the air conditioner or the dripping of the water from the air conditioner or the smell of must, mold, and mildew in the room. You know, we can provide you a better environment to stay. So I wish it would be easier
Yeah.
for us to do it, but
But I guess hotels actually are a really good additional target market because if they are able to install a premium product that makes the experience much nicer, that goes a long way. And this sounds like exactly that. And then, I mean, you have the challenge of everyone needing to operate their HVAC system internally, room by room by room, and the high cost of maintaining those, how much those break. So it does seem like that would be another yeah, that would be a. It seems like that you could make a really effective sales pitch to these customers, and you know, increasingly it would become a go-to hotel, you know, choice for a better premium experience. That I mean, obviously hotels have the benefit of if they offer a little bit more of a little bit nicer of an experience, they can charge an arm and a leg more, and so you can actually fund this kind of, and then the product can scale up. So really, I mean, honestly, you can say. I think you can tell. Like, I'd be willing to jump into your sales team. Like, this is the, this is a really exciting product, you know, I've been working in the field of I've been, you know, in the world of trying to find climate solutions for 25 years, you know, since I went to college and then constantly trying to find, uh, you know, something that scales, something that works for the mass market. How you get the mass market to change, how you get the millions to change, and I keep thinking of my my main business partner here, Scott Cooney, who's started great companies, you know, focus on energy efficiency, savings, comfort, and this is just like that perfect mix. You have everything. You have a product that improves comfort, saves money, improves energy efficiency greatly. It's like you said, kind of a low hanging fruit. It's just sort of a new territory that no one's used to. So it's like the perfect package. I think Scott and I would just be like, man, this is amazing. We love what you're doing. Yeah, I'll get any final thoughts, and then yeah, we'll go from there, and for sure be in touch about how to keep keep getting the message out.
I, final thoughts are this: dollars and cents are important. There has to be um, a financial incentive for anybody to do most anything. Um, I get that. All right. This is more of an investment than it is you know, I'm just satisfying one need. You're satisfying your comfort need, but it's long term and it'll be long lived. We spent a lot, uh, diluted the meager retirements, that we had to get it to this point where we're very proud of what we're producing. Um, I just, yeah, I think Zach, you said it better than I could. You know, when you said on scale, this could have a heck of an impact because 60 to 70% of what we use in energy is to keep ourselves comfortable. So if we put this on us on a better scale, we're going to have an impact, and that does more for me personally than any dollar and cents thing.
Yeah, no, no, I mean, I 100% can see it. I mean, I know this. I know the climate solutions out there. I know the challenges and the pros and cons, and I know the places where we still have a lot to do. And this is like a perfect kind of. This is a really a perfect kind of product in a perfect kind of area of tremendous potential impact. It has all the ingredients to work, and it's just a matter of like opening up the market. And I mean, like I said, we've been covering electric cars.
Right.
And It's a sort of a similar kind of story. Like the the potential and the opening was there, the
Right.
massive savings potential is there, but it's just a constant challenge to get people to open their minds to something being slightly different. It's very similar actually comparison because you have um, there's still cars that
Sure.
you there's still cars that you drive like a car and that you use as a car. So they're the same product, but they're different enough that people always ask about, well, how far can they drive? How long does it take to charge? And they have a really hard challenge understanding that the EV life of plug in when you get home, unplug when you leave, even every 2 or 3 days, is actually much more convenient. It's just a different system. It's a different lifestyle. It's a different, and they just want to plug that system into the gas car system. Well, how long does it take to charge? Because I don't want to spend every week charging for an hour and a half while I'm waiting to get home. Like, no, that's not how it works. It's a different. So it's similar enough that it's like the same product, but different enough that it's a different product. And this, your Exhale fans product sounds. It's sort of a very similar kind of situation where people are going to say, well, I don't want a fan because I like air conditioning more or whatever. It's like, well, it's not really a traditional fan. It's not a bladed fan. It's just going to blow air. It's not just a different package doing the same thing. It's doing something much better, much more. And it has these savings for comfort, for costs, etc. So I don't know, everything together, I can see the story very clear that, you have the perfect solution for mass scale, gigantic effect, but you also have the challenge of creating a new market, basically. And that's very hard to do. But at the same time, it seems like you're finding all of the places to do it, to start doing it. And I mean, you must have spent a lot of time thinking about this up in the air, man, because you've got all the solutions. It sounds like,
Well,
and in the last 16 years. Sorry, I know
yes,
you've been working on it for 16 years out of the air. So
right. But I've been retired 10 years now, but yeah, no, you're right. I think John Glenn put it best. Hours of boredom augmented by seconds of terror. So that's what aviation is. So
it's a good recipe for invention.
yeah, yeah, it is. And And Zach, believe me, I can't thank you enough for the
Right.
opportunity to speak to you. But also, thank you for getting it,
Yeah.
because you see it, and to me that's a wonderful attribute to this connection that we made here, and the ability to spread the word, so to speak. Thank
Well,
you.
no, I mean, I appreciate it, and I mean, you helped me to get it because I think initially I was like, okay, this is cool, this is a good product, this fits within our wheelhouse. But I didn't really get it. So you helped me to get it through this whole conversation, like one thing after another. You can see how excited I got each time you sort of clicked open a new box. And I was like, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. You know, it's like so. You definitely led me along. It was perfect conversation. So I really appreciate it, and thank you for what you're doing. I really hope that we can help you to yeah, to get these out there more and more. So, yeah, thank you for the day, and we'll definitely keep working together. So.
Absolutely my pleasure. Thank you, Zach. Thank you. Bye.